We know about Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2. I think whether you've already watched the first 4 episodes or you're waiting to binge the whole thing at once, there's a lot of fascinating details to cover about what's coming next. And honestly, with Christmas Day bringing us 3 more episodes and New Year's Eve delivering the finale, we're in for quite the holiday roller coaster. We'll be covering all the confirmed details about episodes 5, 6, and 7, plus everything we know about that massive 2-hour finale. Then we'll dive into the cast, the new characters, the big reveals from Volume 1 that set everything up, and loads of behind-the-scenes details that make this final chapter even more interesting. There's plenty to get talking about, but if you like what I do here and want a way to support the channel, consider subscribing down below. But for now, grab your EOS and flashlights, settle in for the final battle, and let's begin. So, way before we could watch the final season, there was a pretty wild journey to get here. The Duffer Brothers announced back in February 2022 that Season 5 would be the final chapter of Stranger Things. In their letter to fans, they explained they'd planned the complete story arc for 7 years and always knew it would take 4 to 5 seasons to tell. Season 4 ended up being the penultimate season, which meant Season 5 would be the last. At the time, I don't think anyone realized just how long the wait would actually be. The writer room opened in August 2022, just about a month after Season 4 Volume 2 dropped on Netflix. The Stranger Things writer account on social media kept fans updated throughout the process, sharing photos as they moved through the grid stage of breaking down all 8 episodes. By September 2022, they'd completed the grid. By November, the Duffers had finished writing the first episode, The Crawl, and were deep into Episode 2. Everything seemed to be moving along smoothly. Then the Hollywood strikes happened in 2023, and everything ground to a halt. The Writer Guild of America strike started in May, followed by the SAG-AFTRA actors strike. Production that was supposed to begin in summer 2023 got pushed indefinitely. David Harbour had mentioned filming would start in June, but that became impossible. The strikes lasted for months, and honestly, it felt like we might never get Season 5. The Stranger Things social media accounts went quiet, the set sat empty. A deal was finally struck in November 2023, clearing the way for production to resume. The cast did a table read before the end of 2023, and on January 8, 2024, filming officially began. Nearly a full year of production followed. By March 2024, Millie Bobby Brown mentioned there was still 9 months of filming left. In July, they hit the halfway point. Finn Wolfhard told people in October they were almost done. And finally, on December 20th, 2024, production wrapped. What's really interesting is how the Duffers structured the final days of filming. Despite the scheduling nightmare of managing such a massive cast and crew for a full year, they made sure every actor's last day on set was actually their last scene in the story. According to reports, the very last shot recorded didn't even include any of the cast. It was just a lunchbox, a symbolic end to 9 years of work. Joe Keery described the experience as incredible, but admitted everyone felt some proper fatigue after filming for an entire year. Millie Bobby Brown's reflection really drives home how long this journey has been. She started Stranger Things when she was 10 years old. By the time filming wrapped, she was turning 20.
With all this fog and deadlighting multiple children at once, he knows this is his one big shot at freedom and nothing is going to stop him. The deadlights are when Galu shows his true form with these 3 floating orbs. It puts his victims in a sort of catatonic state in which they experience terrors beyond our imagination. Lily, Ronnie, and Marge have been on their own journeys this season. Lily getting over the death of her father, Ronnie trying to keep her father out of jail, and Marge finding who she is and who her friends are. She spent most of this season trying to fit in with the popular kids, even throwing her own friends under the bus to do so. It's no wonder then that her final speech at Rich's funeral is all about what makes a true friend. This March of Death is one of my favorite shots of the episode, as this scene is heavily influenced by the story of the Pied Piper. In most interpretations of the story, the Piper leads the children with his instrument into a river to drown or back to his cave. A cave is the background of Pennywise's stage. In one particular version, it's 3 children who stay behind and end up informing the adults and saving the day, kind of like our 3 kids. Knowing that Will and their friends have been taken by Pennywise, they decide to go after him. Armed with Sesky's ancient dagger, which Lily has held onto since her foray into the sewers, this dagger is composed of the same material which imprisoned Galu, and acts as both a weapon and shield of sorts, keeping the entity at bay. They're already way behind, and thus Marge hijacks a milk truck to catch up. There's something oddly satisfying about a dairy truck being used in the town of Derry. By the way, this truck has been seen in the background of several episodes. After getting a frightening call from Pennywise stating that he has his son, Leroy Hanlon goes full Liam Neeson and enlists the help of Dick. That sounded weird. It's interesting to note that in this call, Leroy threatens Pennywise, stating that if he harms his son, he'll rip out his heart. It will be his grandson, Mike, 54 years later, that will kill Pennywise by ripping out his heart. But back to Dick. He's not been doing so great since the black spot. In fact, he's on the brink of killing himself with the onslaught of undead all around him. It's kind of ironic that the alcohol influencing his decision is called Old Granddad, when it was his granddad who started much of his trauma to begin with. Leroy pleads to Dick, asking for his help to get his son. Dick's powers might be the only thing to track Will, and ultimately he agrees to help. We'll see the fog creep along the river toward the old deadwood tree. This is the same tree Noonie and her friends passed when they went to retrieve the pillars hundreds of years ago. Rose says it stood there long before her ancestors, and that it's the furthest point that the dagger's energy can still connect with the other pillars to restore the cage. Once Pennywise reaches beyond that tree, it's game over. In this map, we'll see how the pillars form these concentric circles to form one big ring surrounding Derry. She says the Earth acts as a conductor, linking the energies of these pillars to form this barrier, and it only takes one of them to be destroyed in order for it to fail. Kind of like if you had a prison cell, but one of the bars was removed so you could get out.
Half her life has been spent in the Upside Down. The table read in September 2024 was apparently quite emotional. The cast gathered in Stage 16 of the Atlanta production facilities, the same stages they'd used for previous seasons. Most of the actors hadn't read the script all the way to the finale since the Duffers generally don't share their work with the cast ahead of time. Some cast members, like Noah Schnapp, still haven't seen the finale and won't until it drops on New Year's Eve, same as the rest of us. After nearly 3 years of waiting and a full year of filming, we're finally here. But let's talk about how they're actually releasing this thing. Now, this isn't your typical Netflix binge situation. Stranger Things Season 5 is being released in 3 separate volumes spread across the final week of 2025, which is a pretty unusual approach even for Netflix. Volume 1 dropped on November 26th, 2025, Thanksgiving week for those in the States. It contained the first 4 episodes of the season. If you've watched it already, you know it ends on a massive cliffhanger with Will's powers being revealed. If you haven't watched it yet, well, spoilers are coming throughout this video, so consider yourself warned. Volume 2 is coming on Christmas Day, December 25th, with 3 more episodes. That's episodes 5, 6, and 7, which we'll be diving into in detail in a bit. All 3 episodes release at the same time at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. For those of us in the UK, that's 1 a.m. on Boxing Day, which means either staying up late or waking up early to a proper Christmas present. Then Volume 3, which is just the finale, arrives on New Year's Eve, December 31st. Again, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. GMT for the UK. The finale is a full 2 hours and 5 minutes long, making it basically a feature film. It's also getting a limited theatrical release, but we'll talk about that later. This 3-volume structure is only the second time Netflix has done this for a final season. Cobra Kai Season 6 was the first, also splitting into 3 parts. But for Stranger Things, it feels particularly deliberate. The Duffers have talked of wanting each volume to feel like its own event, its own mega movie experience, rather than just episodes you blast through in one sitting. What's interesting is how the split affects the pacing and tension. Volume 1 sets everything up and ends with that Will reveal. Volume 2 is the rising action, the emotional core, the rescues and revelations. And the finale on New Year's Eve is the climax and resolution, the final battle and goodbye. It's structured almost like a 3-act play, which makes sense given how much the Duffers love theater. They've even got a Stranger Things play running on Broadway and in London's West End right now.